Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Nookie with the Booknooken channel review, and I'm coming back with part 2 of Cissy Houston's book, Remembering Whitney. The other day I gave a briefly, little synopsis of what the book was about. I was like on chapter 6 at the time I finished the book, and I must say that I think it's a very good book. I think it's a very good read. So, if you're interested in seeing, reading how Cissy felt about her daughter, then I say get this book. It's really a heartfelt book. I felt it was straight from her heart. It seems like she was trying to close a chapter on the things that maybe she didn't get to say to Whitney before Whitney's passing. And this is her platform to do it. And I think she did it as eloquently as possible. And it was just her truth. As I got into chapter 7, she did start talking about Whitney Houston. She went from, it started with Whitney moving in with Robin Crawford, who we all know as Whitney's lover or best friend, was still murky in that area, and no one really cares. If that's what Whitney wanted, then fine. That's neither here nor there. But Cissy let us know that she really didn't care for Robin being in Whitney's life on a personal level. It's not that she didn't like Robin. It's that she didn't like what she felt in her gut that Robin represented, which was homosexuality. She thought Robin did really care and love Whitney, and that she did protect Whitney. So in that aspect, she could tolerate Robin. But in the other aspect, she really wasn't feeling Robin. And she went on to say that Robin and Whitney had actually moved in together at one point. That was right after, I believe, Whitney graduated from high school. And Cissy and John Houston, her husband, they had separated. They didn't divorce. They had separated. Gary had gone off to college. And he had also graduated. And I believe he had played for the Denver Nuggets for one season. But by that time, Gary was also on drugs. So that pretty much finished any basketball career that he could ever hope to have. And Michael was in a junior college, I believe. So that left no one home but Cissy and Whitney did move out. At the time, she had begun modeling. She had did a couple of acting jobs on Give Me a Break and I think Different Strokes it was. And she had done a couple commercials. So she was getting herself out there, but she was out there in the modeling world. And she was still singing back up for her mom at different venues. And Cissy tells a story about how Whitney really got her start. Cissy wanted her to, just go out into the forefront and like, maybe it's your time. I've trained you. And she was really hard on Whitney. And she even says that she was. Once Whitney said, I want to be a singer, that was it. Cissy was really on her, honing her craft. So this one particular night, Cissy said, well, I'm sick. My throat is messed up. I can't do it. Whitney, I need you to go and sing at this club for me. And Whitney was, very, apprehensive. Like, no, I don't want to. But she did, and she just blew it out the water. Then steps in Clive Davis, who actually, he was with Arista then. He hadn't had J Records. But again, Cissy gives Clive all types of props for catapulting Whitney's career, which he did. And throughout the book, she lets it be known that Clive never really abandoned Whitney. He was always there for her because he saw what Whitney had, and part of it was he felt responsible in a sense for what happened to Whitney. And as did Cissy Houston, as she says in the book, she just felt like there was more she could have done, more. She just has that mother's guilt, which she shouldn't have, because life and death is predestined, and it is what it is. Whitney served her purpose here on earth. She was a wonderful, beautiful singer. She was a beautiful woman. So, but Cissy, of course, as a mother is never supposed to bury their child. I can't even imagine what she's going through. It has to be awful. And she goes on to talk about the marriage of Bobby Brown, how, she really didn't care for Bobby Brown. She doesn't speak bad. She didn't say he was a bad person. She just said he wasn't a good person for Whitney. She doesn't blame him for Whitney's drug abuse. She says again and again that Whitney was on drugs way before she met Bobby. She even says Whitney was on drugs, I think it was in the late 80s, because Even though her and Robin Crawford didn't get along, Robin came to Cissy to tell Cissy behind Whitney's back that Whitney was on drugs. Oh, tongue twister. That Whitney was on drugs, and of course Whitney just blew it off like, "Ma, you tripping." But of course we all know what that spiraled into. Cissy goes on to talk about her relationship with John. Whitney Houston's father had had a heart attack. And after he had the heart attack, he went through some type of midlife crazy crisis. Even though they were separated for years, they were still together. You know that one couple we all know that they never got divorced, and you don't really know what the situation is, but it's really not your business, because if it works for them, it's fine with us. Okay, that was them. It was years and years later that John filed for divorce from Cissy Houston, and at the time that she got the papers, she was actually in the hospital because she had broken her ankle. And she goes on to say how hurt she was. She never thought John would divorce her. She loved that man till the day he died, and he loved her too, but he went on with his life. He married a much younger woman who Whitney wouldn't allow at her wedding, and the woman, her name is Peggy. She had a daughter which John adopted, who Whitney Houston would not even deal with, like whatever. When Cissy goes on to say how the first time they tried to intervene in Whitney's life, when she found out that she was really on drugs, Cissy had gone to L.A. Her and Robin and someone else, they had gone, and Cissy was like, you need to get in rehab, and Whitney talked her mother out of sending her to rehab. She just said, "Mama, come to the house, stay with me, I can beat this," And Cissy, being naive, to drug addiction, I suppose, went to the house, and it didn't do any good because Whitney's house was so big. She said Whitney would lock herself in the room. She wouldn't see her for days, so she didn't know what she was doing. She goes on, one really sad part of the book is when Cissy divulges that the first time that she saw Whitney high and how it crushed her. She said Whitney was high as hell. And she was just really hurt. She was like, oh my God, the rumors are true, because for so many years, her and Whitney didn't talk often. When Whitney got on drugs and it started coming out in the tabloids and people were whispering in Cissy's ear, Cissy pretty much pushed it to the side. She might call Whitney, "What's up, baby girl, I heard this." And Whitney would be like, well, people make up lies about anything. And of course, Cissy was in denial. A part of her was in denial. But Cissy just didn't know how to handle Whitney being on drugs, and a part of it why Whitney isolated herself from her mom, because she did this throughout her career, because I think that started in the late 80s when she got on drugs. The reason she isolated her mom so much is because she didn't want to disappoint her mom. They had made her into this image of being the perfect princess, and she wanted to be that perfect princess in her mama's eyes. So it was times Cissy said she didn't talk to her for months, and it might have been a year here she didn't see her, 2 years she didn't see her here, and I'm like, what? So anyway, Cissy gets into the Bobby Brown thing, how she didn't really care for Bobby Brown, but she really does believe that Bobby loved her, and she knows that Whitney loved him. It's just that it was a toxic relationship because of the drug abuse between the two of them. And this is one excerpt in the book that I just wanted to read that struck me kind of funny. It says, Cissy is talking about Bobby Brown here. She says, "Now I knew Bobby had some success as a singer. I knew his group New Edition was popular, and that kids seemed to think he was cool. But I really didn't care for his music, and I especially didn't understand the appeal of his big hit song at the time, something called Humping Around. It may have been successful, but I couldn't stand that song or the video he made to promote it, where he was dancing and fooling around with a bunch of women on camera. I understood that Bobby's stage act involved suggestive dancing and all that mess, with dancers and even some audience members, but a lot of people thought that humping around went a little too far." This is the part I want you to listen to. "If you look at Nippy's songs," Nippy is Whitney's nickname, "they're all about love, the greatest love, I will always love you, saving all my love for you." Pause. If I'm not mistaken, Saving All My Love for You was about a mistress and a man committing adultery. A few stolen moments is all that we share. You've got your family and they need you there. Though I try to resist, being last on your list, but no other man's gonna do. So I'm saving all my what? Love for who? You. That's a song about adultery. Now, I'm not saying humping around was the anthem for I have it all together, but he wasn't talking about humping someone's wife. I'm just saying, I just pointed that out. I don't know if Cissy, really delved into the lyrics of Saving All My Love for You, but that song was not uplifting because she said that Nippy sang about things that lifted you up, that meant something. I don't know if singing a song about committing adultery or breaking up a home, whether it's happy or not, is uplifting, but that's just my opinion. Somebody else might look at it and be like, no, it was a love song, whatever. But anyway, she goes on to talk about how Bobby Brown, was basically toxic for Whitney. And she talks about the time Bobby Brown allegedly hit her in the face with something and she had a gash on her face. But what she did say is that she wasn't going to say anything bad about him because that is her granddaughter's father. And just on that she wasn't going to bash him. She did say she did not like Bobby Brown and that she doesn't blame him. What she did say also was that she believes that had Whitney had a more responsible man in her life, that she probably would have gotten off drugs, and I totally disagree with that. Because a person on drugs, it doesn't matter. You could have the most responsible person in the world in your corner. If you haven't decided that you are ready to stop smoking or shooting up, you're not going to do it. And what you're going to do is make that other person a codependent and drive them crazy. So that part, you need professional help with that. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really agree with that. She just basically, it's an outpouring of her emotions and her feelings about her daughter. She goes into the day that Whitney died and how she found out. She was at home and she actually had gotten a call, and I think it was her niece that told her, and then Gary called and Gary was beside himself. It was just terrible, the way she found out. And actually the day before, Whitney had called her and said, well, Mommy, I have to do the Grammys, because she hadn't seen Whitney. That happened in 2012. She hadn't seen Whitney since 2011, I think Thanksgiving, or right before Thanksgiving. They had only spent like an hour together, and it had been a long time since she had seen Whitney because, like I said, Whitney isolated her, out of her life because she was getting high, and she didn't want her mom to see that. So Whitney had told her the day before, Mom, after this Grammy party and everything is over, I'm coming to see you. So she was looking forward to that, and it just didn't happen. Whitney's father also sued her for $100 million. She used to be the head of CEO of her multi-million-dollar corporation that she had, but he somehow branched out on his own because he was really sickly, diabetes and some other things going on. And of course, he had married the other woman, but he sued her for $100 million. And 6 months later, he died. So I don't know whatever happened with that. I'm going to have to Google that and see what the outcome was. But Cissy also said she didn't write the book to hurt Bobby Chrissy or anybody else. This is her book. This is how she felt, and she wanted to be the one to tell it. I guess she, like she felt her best years might be behind her, so she wants to get it out now. She doesn't want anybody assuming anything that she felt. She gave a lot of people props and kudos for what they did. She didn't really bash anybody. I know one thing she did point out, though, was, everybody has been saying that Aretha Franklin was Whitney Houston's godmother. But she pointed that out, that is not true. That is a fallacy. That she is not her grandmother. I mean, her godmother. Dionne Warwick is her cousin, though. But the book was just good. And I feel that, Cissy has a right to say what she feels she needs to say for closure with her and her daughter. And like I said, she didn't bash anyone in this book. I think Chrissy might want to write her own book. Not now, maybe later, because I'm sure she has a lot of things to say. And she feels some kind of way about people having opinions about her mom. And I understand that. That's your mama. Maybe she wants to give us her perspective on who her mother was to her. I'm sure she has a lot to talk about because she had a pretty tumultuous um, childhood with the fact that her mother and father were both on drugs. I mean, I'm sure they loved her. I'm sure there were fun and games and happiness, but then I'm sure it was a lot of dysfunction. So maybe she wants to, give her own opinion about her own truth about her mom and maybe her dad. I just pray that her and her father work their differences out. And I just really enjoyed the book with Cissy. I thought it was really enlightening. At the beginning it was kind of slow, but as I got into it, she really, it's just about how she felt about her daughter. So, and I love this picture on here. I think that is a beautiful picture of Cissy and Whitney. I think it is so beautiful. But anyway, so this is my part 2 of the review. Thought the book was good. So check it out. Let me know what you think. In the meantime, stay encouraged and peace.